drawback of using graphite and also PT electrode. And under some scenario that these two electrodes, they may not be chemically inert. And for graphite, if on that side that O2 is formed, then it will react actually. So can you tell me what is the product?
CO2.
CO2, thank you. So if you are really using graphite electrode as the anode, and then hydroxide ion really discharge to form some O2, you can see that the graphite electrode, it will gradually dissolve because of the formation of CO2 and make the whole graphite electrode to break down. And then for the PT electrode, it can also react in the presence of fluorine or chlorine. And the raw result is PTCl2. So under that two scenario, you have to choose the electrode carefully. And if you can predict that Cl2 is formed, then you can use graphite electrode. And if you predict that the oxygen gas is formed, then you have to use PT electrode instead. Here, I will use the two different types of electrode to illustrate you the effect of the nature of the electrode on the product of electrolysis. Well, first of all, just draw the setup. I think you have experience on that. Just a negative electrode, our battery, and then two PT electrode. And then immerse in some H2SO4, AQ. And then a similar setup. However, our only difference should be the electrode used. And this time, Cu is used. And your task now is to write down the equation on the cathode and anode in that two setup first. And then I think you can see the effect of the electrode on the product form. So let's finish the analysis yourself first. So have you finished the analysis? Oh, just find someone to tell me the answer for PT first. What's the equation at the cathode? Hi, anyone? For the PT setup.
EH plus 加兩粒 electron 之後變 hydrogen gas.
Yes, thank you. Oh, and then how about on the other side for anode?
4OH minus 之後變成O2 加兩個 H2O 之後再加4粒 electron.
Thank you. And then you see the product now, and the analysis is just very easy because PT now it should be an inner electrode. So what you have to consider is those substances in the solution. And because now no other metal ion exists, so the only choice for reduction should be H+, so then H2 is formed. And then for the N ion side, also very easy for SO4 minus is a spectator ion. It means that it will not react at all. So your only choice is OH minus. Oh, and then for the Cu side.
Both RA 同 OA 都係Cu 同埋 Cu2 plus， 即係anode 就係 Cu 之後變 Cu2 plus 加兩粒 electron， 之後 cathode 就係Cu2 plus 加兩粒 electron 之後變 Cu。
How about at the very beginning?
At the very beginning， 右手邊啊，你講緊？
For the cathode.
會唔會係 H plus react 先啊？可能。
Okay, first of all, H plus it will react first.
但係佢 OA 嗰度唔係 Cu2 plus 勁過 H plus 嘅咩？
Later, it takes time.
Oh, okay.
So at the very beginning, you can see hydrogen gas bubble. So I think you see the effect already. For the nature of the electrode, first of all, it may not be chemical in there. Let's say for graphite and PT, they react with oxygen and Cl2 respectively, and this leads to other products. And secondly is that the electrode itself, it can be one of the OA and RA, and it will also alter the product form. Let's say in this case for the anode, because Cu, copper metal, is a stronger RA, so that in this setup it will discharge first。咁有兩個原因啦，咪而家講到嘅就係第一個就係話有啲 side reaction undergo 緊啦，第二個就係話嗰個 electrode 本身佢會係個 OARA 啦，咁都會令到個 product 會唔同咗啦。Oh, and then the third way how the electrode will affect the product discharge is that it will really alter the species, the position of that species in the electrochemical series. And one of the typical example is the use of mercury electrode. And the example is the electrolysis of brine, and brine is a concentrated NaCl solution. But what is the major source of brine?
Seawater.
Seawater, thank you. And this is actually the industrial way how chlorine gas can be produced. Just feed in some seawater into the setup, and then it will generate Cl2 for you. Oh, and in our lab, we can use U-shaped tool to perform this experiment. And this is how the setup look like. U 型嘅管啦嚇。Oh, for mercury being a liquid with a high density, it will sink to the bottom. And then on this setup, one of the sides we will use water to cover it. And then for the negative pole, we will use a wire with a plastic coating. To avoid the content of the metal wire inside to contact with water. And then on the other side, this time we'll use graphite as the electrode instead of PT. Is because our product will be chlorine gas, so the PT is not chemically inert for that purpose. So graphite is chosen. Oh, and then on the other side, we'll use brine as a raw material to react. And this is how the setup look like. 跟唔跟到點話？有個電芯喺度啦，負嗰邊咧駁住條電線啦，電線上面就有包膠嘅。咁啊，佢條 metal wire 咧一路係去到咧同 mercury 接觸咧，先至會伸出嚟嘅。佢同水上面啲水就冇接觸嘅。咁啊，另外嗰邊 positive 嗰邊就用 graphite electrode 啦，跟住就用個 brine 嚟做嗰個嘅 reactance 啊。Oh, do you need time for this setup? Oh, if no, then we just discuss this setup by part. Oh, first of all, what is the principle? How will the reaction start, or how your analysis should start? An electron, it will go into the mercury, and then mercury is again is a metal. It means that electron can flow inside freely.
之後去咗 NaCl 嗰邊。
Yes. So finally, it will make here negative on the left-hand side between the surface of brine and then the surface of mercury. It will become negative. So the reaction site is all on the left-hand side. Oh, and then can someone tell me now why the plastic coating is littered on the right-hand side to cover the metal wire?
Prevent formation of hydrogen gas.
Yes.
Prevent the H plus directly undergo reaction on the right-hand side. Is it okay?
Okay.
咁所以我嗰個一定要直接去落到去個 mercury 嗰度先至會係有翻條 metal wire 伸出嚟啦。Oh, and then the other thing is that we have to add some water onto the top of Hg, and because electrolysis it will emit heat, and then can you give me a reason?
High specific capacity.
Then, if mercury is heated up by the electricity, then what will happen to mercury?
It will melt easily.
It is already a liquid under room temperature and pressure.
Vaporization.
Okay, the mercury which is toxic, it will vaporize. Then what is the use of water?
Absorb heat energy.
Absorb heat
gas from going out.
Or prevent mercury from vaporizing by absorbing the heat. 得唔得？呢個就係水喺上面嘅作用嚟，佢係一個 coolant 啫。咁所以你頭先提 high specific heat capacity 係啱嘅呢一邊。Oh, do you understand the principle on the right-hand side of this setup? Why plastic coating is used for the metal wire is the first special thing in this setup. And secondly is the use of water. Oh, and if you understand, then we go to the left-hand side of this setup. And the species discharge in this case is a little bit unpredictable for you up to this moment. It's because this time Na plus will be discharged, and it will absorb the electron. And this is why the mercury is littered for this discharge, is because it is one of the reactants. And it actually lower the position of Na in the electrochemical series with the presence of mercury. And then what the product is this species Na/Hg. And you can understand it as after the Na ion, it absorbs the electron, it will turn into sodium metal. And then that metal, it can somehow dissolve in mercury. You can somehow consider the mercury as a solvent, and then the sodium as the solid. So that finally you will form sodium dissolved in mercury. Or you can say that it is an alloy. And we have a special term for it, is called sodium amalgam. Amalgam 嘅意思即係話佢同啲 mercury 咧，佢就黐埋咗一齊咧，嗰嚿嘅 metal 好似 form 咗一嚿合金咁樣啦。中文叫咩？中文叫立控齊。
所以個 state 係咩啊
？Is a liquid。立就係 sodium 啦，控即係 mercury 啦，咁啊齊即係話佢哋兩嚿合埋咗變咗一嚿嘢啦。Reaction exists as the anode or cathode.新嗰條係邊度
？Cathode。左邊個係 cathode。
Thank you. You should say that the lower part here is a cathode.
所以個碌棍係 cathode 定係你呢一層係
cathode？Mercury 成劈 mercury 係 cathode。
咁個 graphite electrode 係咩
？Graphite electrode is the anode. So let's continue our analysis. Now for the graphite electrode, it is connected to the positive side. It means that the N ion will be attracted to the graphite electrode. Then there are totally two inside, Cl minus and hydroxide ion. They are attracted to the graphite electrode connecting to the positive pole. So which of these two ions will discharge? Which of Cl minus or OH minus will discharge?
CL minus 咯，因為佢
CL
concentration 好高。
Oh, thank you. Cl minus will discharge because now we are using brine, which is concentrated sodium chloride. So its concentration is much higher than hydroxide ion, so it will preferentially discharge to form chlorine gas. So for the anode, the analysis is just the same as you learned before. However, for the cathode side, because of the presence of mercury, so it's somehow different. 咁如果你真係寫個 electrochemical series 出嚟嘅話咧，佢嗰個 position 就會成個 shift 低咗㗎啦，低到佢可以 discharge 到啦，連 sodium ions 都。Do you understand the setup? Oh, and here is the way how we can perform this electrolysis inside our laboratory. Then let's move on to the industrial level. Let's see how it can be done. Oh, and the flowing mercury cell, this cell is called flowing mercury cell. And industrially, it can provide you three products. First of all, it provides you Cl2. And then secondly, it can be used to make sodium hydroxide. And finally, it can make hydrogen gas. And all are very important products. Oh, for the first two, what are the use of chlorine and NaOH? Why are they important?
Making bleach.
For the production of bleach， 整漂白劑啦嚇，漂白水、漂白劑啦嚇，就常用到啦嚇。Oh, and how about hydrogen? Why is it also an important product? H2 有咩用啊？知唔知？
係咪之前嗰個什麼 hydrogen oxygen fuel cells 嗰啲
the fuel for fuel cell
俾太陽發光得唔得？
No， 因為咁唔係你用到佢嘅方法啦。咁你整佢出嚟做咩啫？太陽本身已經有 H2 啦，你唔會整完 H2 泵去個太陽度啊。Oh, and then the second major use is rocket fuel， 雖然都好少用嘅呢個。And thirdly is used in some organic synthesis。
嗰啲噴氣球嗰啲得唔得啊？佢可以。
氫氣球用氦氣嘅，你用 hydrogen 放落去咪爆炸咯，一點火就爆喎。
啊係。
即係你做 pop 3個 test 咁樣。
嗯。
咁啊，例如有啲咩用啊？例如啲平時嗰啲咧人造牛油咧，就係其實將啲 vegetable oils 咧，佢原本入邊就有啲 double bond 喺度嘅，我夾硬攝翻兩個 hydrogen bond 入去啦，就會令到佢由 unsaturated 咧變做 saturated 啦。咁啊，雖然係冇咁健康嘅，但係佢哋嗰個 melting point 會隨此而變高啦，咁先可以將啲嘅油狀嘅啲 liquid form 嘅嘢咧變做一嚿 solid 嘅嘢儲存喺你個雪櫃度啦嚇。And also another use for hydrogen is the synthesis of ammonia. And because ammonia further, we can use it to make some fertilizer. So for foreign countries, it's very important for making food to increase the yield product of food. Then go back to this setup. And the difference between this one and the YouTube one is that we make use of other thing as the electrode. For the positive electrode, we now use titanium Ti as the positive electrode instead of graphite. But the idea is just the same when we fit in some dye into it, that is a concentrated sodium chloride solution, then the chloride ion will be attracted to the top part, and then it will lose its electron, it will undergo oxidation. So in this flowing mercury cell on the top, you can collect chlorine gas. 係嘛？佢 CMR 黐咗上去啦，咁佢就甩 electron 啦，出 chlorine gas，咁佢就會自動喺上邊嗰度排走噶啦。Oh, and then secondly is about the mercury electrode. For the setup we use in the laboratory, we call it a batch process. It means that after each time you perform that reaction, you have to fill in some new materials. Say, for example, the brine, you have to feed in some new brine into the system to make it work again. However, for the flowing mercury cell, as you look into it, is called a continuous process. And the idea is that we continuously feed in the sodium chloride, and then the used brine, it will left the cell. 咁所以你唔使每一次都倒嗰一桶嘢入去嘅，而係佢不斷泵嗰啲嘅 NaCl 入去啦嚇，喺另一邊度出翻嚟啫嘛，係嘛？咁就叫咗個 continuous 嘅 process 啦。So which of the cation is discharged?
Sodium.
Or sodium metal, I mean sodium ion, it will be discharged because of the presence of Hg. So that it will undergo this reaction at the cathode. And it is actually happening here. 一浸嘅 mercury 不斷有個泵喺度啦，係咪黑掹掹嗰一浸嘢喺度啦？咁我一路行緊啦。咁上邊係 sodium chloride 嚟㗎嘛，啲 Na plus 咧就會喺呢一個位度落去嘅。So as you may see on the left-hand side, originally is mercury, and then after it flow to the top, then the Na plus will be attracted to the mercury electrode, and then it will gain the electron to form Na, and then the Na will dissolve in Hg to form sodium amalgam, so that when it left on the right-hand side, all will be exist in form of Na/Hg, the sodium amalgam. Oh, and then what's next is that another raw material is water. And then after this sodium amalgam reach the bottom part of the flowing mercury cell, it will contact with water. And it will perform the first equation in this setup, is that the sodium amalgam react with water, and then it will form back the mercury so that the mercury can continuously flowing. And then there will be two more product forms. First one is NaOH, and what's more is hydrogen gas. And the clever part between this setup is that there is no separation in the part I highlight in blue. There's no physical separation. The substances, they are all separated because of their density difference. For the lower part is mercury, or mercury with Na inside. Because the density of this part is the highest, so that it will sink to the bottom. And then at the middle part of it is a mixture of water and NaOH with lower density, so that it will be on the top of the mercury and the sodium amalgam layer. And finally, because the other product is hydrogen, then the hydrogen will left on the top here. 咁所以你見到佢個設計好聰明，我任何嘅 separation 都唔使喺度，我由佢嘅 density 嚟分開我嘅陣 layers 已經搞掂啦。And then after you're forming the sodium hydroxide, then it will left on the right-hand side of the bottom part. And here is the common name for sodium hydroxide, caustic soda, 哥士的啦。And this is how the whole setup work. 咁啊唔明呢個 setup 做咩啊？只不過係將上面 YouTube 嗰個嘅 setup 由一次性嘅 set up 變成咗一個 continuous， 你可以整啲 NaOH 出嚟嘅 set up 啦。咁好多工業用嘅 process 都係咁啊，你唔會想每一次隔一個鐘就揾人去 collect 啲 product， 再揾另一個人倒過翻啲 raw materials 落去啊。咁梗係整到佢就係不斷可以泵啲嘅 raw materials 入去，不斷咁出 product， 咁就最 efficient， 即係人手都唔使。Oh, and then the final part today is to talk about the equation of the formation of bleach. So at the beginning, when talking about this fluorine mercury cell, someone mentioned that Cl2 and then NaOH are the raw materials for bleach. They actually react to form two products, NaOCl and NaCl and water. And NaOCl is actually what we want. It's called sodium hypochlorite. And this is the active ingredient for bleach. 咁啊就係第三個 factor 啦。第三個 factor 啲 electrode 點解可以影響到個 product form 嘅原因嚟啦。咁第一個就係話個 electrode 本身佢會有 side reaction 啦。第二就係話佢自己本身係 OARA 啦。今次 mercury 呢個 case 咧就係話咧，佢可以影響到咧一嚿嘢咧，佢喺一個 electrochemical series 入邊嘅 position 啊。你見到有 mercury 之後咧，你原本 Na+ 應該呢世都唔 discharge 㗎嘛。咁但係今次佢會啦，就係因為佢可以 form 到 sodium amalgam 呢隻嘢啦。